Imagine if you were to just take, my son is 5 years old, and it's amazing how prescient some of his comments are and some of his questions. They make you go, wow, that's a great point. Imagine if you were to tell somebody, hey, this guy Jesse Jackson, the Reverend Baby Daddy, runs around saying these crazy things, doing these crazy things. Nobody really knows how he gets paid. He doesn't really have a church, per se. Somehow he makes a lot of money screaming racism. Well, and his kid's going to get elected to Congress. We got Al Sharpton visiting the White House. You start to go, wait a minute. This is a joke, right? We can't really take these things. We just assume this is natural in this country. We're not some third world banana republic. You're talking about the United States of America. And these people have real influence. And think for a moment about who they are. Maher in Maryland, listening on WMAL.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call.
That's what I do. I take calls.
Okay. I want to disagree with the things you were saying about Muslims. First of all, I'm a Muslim, and I was listening to the things you were saying. You're talking 95% false and maybe 5% true, what you were saying.
Okay. What was the 5% that was true?
You were saying that there's some cases that there's a Muslims, they commit acts of violence and terrorism. I would agree with you on that. But look...
Oh, well, thanks, Maher, because it's kind of in the public domain already.
Okay, look at all the shootings taking place in American schools the past 20 years. Were any of these shootings, anyone was committed by Muslims? Not a single one of them. What about the recent shooting in Arizona that killed several people and wounded a congresswoman? That wasn't committed by Muslims either. And what about when the U.S. dropped the atomic bomb in Hiroshima? 25,000
You're right.
people
Muslims didn't do
killed.
that. Maher, I got to give you credit. You're right. You've made a very interesting point. No, Maher, I want to give you credit where it's due. Not every crime committed in this country has been committed by a Muslim. You make a hell of a point.
And you're stirring up hatred and resentment against people. We're already a despised minority. You
a despised minority?
A campaign. Yeah, we're already
Maher,
despised.
your self-loathing aside, I don't think anybody despises Muslims.
Yeah, you and your other conservative...
Do you despise Muslims?
I think you and your conservative talk show hosts are stirring up hatred and resentment against Muslims. That's the first step to starting a persecution against us.
Oh, my goodness. How do you do it, Maher? Are you feeling persecuted?
Well, I listened to a lot of the things you're saying.
I got that. But let me ask you this. Do you feel persecuted? Do you walk down the street and people hiss at you? Do they throw rocks at you? Do they call you nasty names? Have you been falsely imprisoned? What element of persecution have you endured?
I have been, people have thrown ice balls at me in the winter. And
you know what? That's hilarious, Maher, because you know you're lying, and I know you're lying, and everybody listening knows you're lying. Where were ice balls thrown at you, Maher?
Winter, there's some kids, they threw ice balls. I mean,
and how old are you?
I'm in my 20s.
Really? And the kids threw ice, and what did they say? Muslim man, ice balls, Muslim man, ice balls. Play this scene out for me.
What you're saying is that you're not telling people to commit violence against Muslims, but you're creating hatred and resentment.
Yes, just hatred is horrible. The hatred. Tell me about the ice balls, though. I got to hear about this. So what? How old were these kids? 4, 5?
11
Tell me about these kids.
Old, teenagers.
What did they look like? White, black, Hispanic?
They were
what?
They were black.
Oh, my goodness. Now we got black people picking on Muslims as a despised minority. Well, I don't, maybe it's just black people. I don't know.
Also, there's some violence taking place against Muslims. It might not be on the news every day, but there are people, they're angry enough about Muslims, they're vandalizing our mosques, and there's these things going on already, yeah.
Really? Where's that happening?
It's not in the front pages. It happened quite a few occasions. I don't have the exact date and time, but it's been occurring quite often.
You're sure it's happening? Okay.
Yeah, and you and your conservative talk show host.
Yeah, well, I'm only me. I can only account for me. But let me ask you this, Maher. Explain to me this. Tell me something I've said that encouraged hatred toward Muslims. Because I think that's a line you use that you don't have any reason to say. You just say it. And I'm guessing that when you say that in the workplace or everywhere else, people are afraid because now you're upset, but I'm not. So why don't you tell me what I've said that encouraged hatred toward Muslims?
What you're saying that encourage hatred and resentment against Muslims is you're saying about how so much of us are terrorists and so much we're coming to this country to cause violence and kill innocent people, and that's not true. And there's a lot of incidents, a lot of crimes. Most crimes taking place in this country are not committed by Muslims. There's just we're a small minority and a small amount of crimes.
What percentage of crimes in this country are committed by Muslims?
I don't know, but
well, then you can't say. Maybe 99%. You don't know. If you don't know, then you can't really say, can you?
You can't make generalizations.
Why can't I? Why can't I?
Muslims.
Why can't I?
Because what you're doing, we're already this small and despised minority in this country, and you don't need to be stirring up any more hatred and resentment.
Who despises
Muslims
you?
Then there's already people. You don't have to be doing a public service to try to stir up more hatred and resentment against Muslims.
No. I got you. But let me ask you, who despises you exactly? Because the president doesn't. I can tell you that for sure.
Okay. The
president loves you.
I believe all you conservative out there, I think you all despise Muslims.
What makes you think that?
Well, the way you talk about Muslims all the time makes it appear. I mean, you go right out and say, I hate Muslims. You should hate Muslims also. But you say the bad things that some Muslims might have been doing, and you generalize and then make people create a hatred of Muslims and spread it around the country. That's
really?
What you all are doing.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Meher. Where are you from originally?
I was born in the United States, Arlington, Virginia. My parents are from Syria in the Middle East.
I know where Syria is. Okay. Well, let me ask you.
You're a citizen,
I didn't say you were. Didn't say you were.
And I'm not a terrorist. I'm not extremist. I'm a regular human being. I don't have 3 eyes. I don't have 3 arms.
Great.
You try to make a Muslim seem subhuman or.
Well, let me ask you this. In Saudi Arabia right now, the royal family is very concerned about Islamic fundamentalism being a threat to that country. They've called out the special forces. They've made a show of force. They have said, we are not going to stand for Muslim fundamentalism. Are you aware of this fact?
Well, Saudi Arabia, the government...
No. Just simply put, are you aware of that fact?
No.
Are you aware of that fact? Well, they have. They brought out this elite group. They wear all black. They look like ninjas from the 90s. It's awesome. They bring them out, and in a show of force, hold on, Meher. In a show of force, they have said, we will not tolerate Muslim extremism in this country. Now, Saudi Arabia is about 99% Muslim. Do you think the Saudis you think they're stirring up hatred of Muslims? Or do you think that they're dealing with a real, significant, verifiable threat to the country, which is Muslim fundamentalism, which frankly is a threat to much of the world right now, not just Americans? So is it okay if the Saudis have that conversation because they're not white Christians, and you can't make them feel guilty for the fact that they recognize that their country is under a great threat? You think they can say that without you saying what you've said?
Well, Saudi Arabia government is already controlled by the Islamic law, so I'm kind of surprised why Saudi Arabia would say.
Well, apparently they hate Muslims.
They're already ruling by Islamic law, so why would they say that they're...
Well, let me ask you this. Muammar Gaddafi has brought out the forces. There's basically a civil war going on, and he is trying to he's pulling out mullahs. He's dealing with what he calls Islamic fundamentalism and agents of Hamas. Now, when he points out that Islamic fundamentalism and the terrorist attacks that they're engaged in, when he does that, do you think that's because Muammar Gaddafi hates Muslims?
I think Muammar Gaddafi is using any claim he could make in order to strengthen his hold on power. He has lost all legitimacy and all respect of the whole world. No one even respects him anymore.
Really? Well, let me ask you this. When you look at Muammar Gaddafi and he's in his purple outfit and he's got makeup, do you ever think to yourself, my goodness, he looks like a drag queen?
I don't respect Muammar because I don't take anything he says seriously, because he is not even he's not even a rational person. I think he is slightly insane.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Doesn't it seem to be the case? Let's see. Hosni Mubarak outlawed the Muslim Brotherhood because he was worried about Muslim fundamentalism. Gaddafi has said that Muslim fundamentalism is a threat to his country. We've seen that in Tunisia. The Saudi family has called out their forces and said we will not tolerate Muslim fundamentalism.
I believe
Muslim fundamentalists took over Iran. Jordan has basically done the same thing. Syria is undergoing the same thing. Yemen, Bahrain, UAE, Dubai. Do you notice the strain, the common thread, the common denominator is Muslim fundamentalism? It's just that those groups recognize the threat when it reaches a critical mass, and they're not afraid of you calling them a racist or conservative talk show host. They're not afraid to call it what it is, which is a threat to the nation's stability because of Muslim fundamentalism.
These governments don't have any legitimacy. They're all dictatorships and tyrants. And they want...
Maher, thanks for the call, brother. I'm glad you're in charge of who does and doesn't have legitimacy. And I like the fact that you refuse to admit that there's Muslim fundamentalism. Let me tell you something. There are a lot of people that would spend their time defending, I don't have anything against Muslims. Some of my best friends are Muslims. But I don't need to do that, Maher. I tell you what, I will defend against Muslim fundamentalists or terrorists in this country because the life I protect may be yours too. More Mark Levin Show coming up.